Hello everyone, welcome to another series. Like it's a 5 episode, and we called the series name is Study with Me. So this is a second part of Python object oriented programming. So we are learning basically this Python object oriented programming course through this video. So if you're first time, so I want to say something like we are watching the segment, like each segment from this video, and then we are using AI tools, so where we learn all the concept with help of Grok, Gemini, or Claude, or ChatGPT. So in first video we learn what is the object oriented programming, what is the method, class, all the terminology we learn. We watch the video and then we learn, we clear everything with example, like all the terminology, all the term, like all the method, what is function, what is the difference between between them. Each things it's very clear. So this way I'm learning. So if you have same mindset to learn faster anything, so just stick with this video. First we watch that segment around 10 minutes, and then we are going to explain, or we are going to understand each topic or each term. So if you don't know how to use any AI tools, so yeah, just create your account, and so I just copy that segment, let's say class variable. So I already copy it and I paste Grok, Gemini, ChatGPT. But before diving into it, first of all let's watch the video, then you can understand, right?
Created from a class. Instance variables are defined inside of the constructor. Class variables are defined outside of the constructor. With class variables, they allow you to share data among all objects created from the class. With instance variables, each object has their own version. With a class variable, all those objects share one variable. Here's an example. We will create a class of student. We also need a constructor. When we create a student object, this constructor is automatically going to be called, but we need to pass in some arguments. We are provided with self. Self refers to the object we're currently working with. We will set up a name parameter and an age parameter. We will assign self, the object we're currently working with, set the name attribute to equal the data for the name that we receive from this parameter, and self.age equals age. Let's construct two student objects. We will have student1 equals, then call the constructor for student. So type the name of the class, followed by a set of parentheses to invoke it. This will automatically call the constructor, but we have to pass in data for the name and the age. For the name, let's pass in SpongeBob, because basically everybody in the world knows who SpongeBob is. I don't know how old SpongeBob is, we'll say he's 30. We'll create another student object, which we will refer to as student2. We will call the constructor of our student class, pass in data for the name and age. Student2 will be Patrick. Patrick will be 35. Okay, let's make sure this works. Let's print student1's name followed by student1's age. And we should get SpongeBob, and his age is 30. Let's print student2's name and student2's age. Patrick is 35. Now we'll create a class variable. Class variables are defined outside the constructor, and they are shared among all objects created from that class. Each object has their own name and age property. These are instance variables. But class variables are defined outside the constructor. Each object will share this one variable. So if we're working with students, let's say there is a class variable of class year. What is the graduating year of this class? 2024. Now, let's print student1's graduating year. Print student1 dot class year. Okay, so SpongeBob has a class year of 2024. That's when he's graduating. Let's check student2. Patrick, his age is 35. His graduating class year is 2024. Now with class variables, you can access them through any one object, such as student1 or student2. It's good practice to access a class variable by the name of the class, rather than any object created from the class. Since we're accessing class year, we'll access this class variable by the name of the class of student. Make sure the S is capital. This helps with clarity and readability. If I was looking at this print statement, I can tell that class year is a class variable because we're accessing it directly from the class, and not any instance from this class. Without looking at this class, I can't tell if class year is an instance variable or a class variable, but if I access it via the class name, it's more explicit. So it's good practice to access a class variable by the class name itself, and not any one instance of this class. Let's create another class variable. We'll create a class variable to keep track of how many students we have created. This class variable will be num students, meaning number of students, equals 0. So within our constructor, we can write any code that we want. This code will always be executed when we instantiate an object. I would like to take our number of students and increment it by 1 each time we construct a new student object. So instead of using self refers to the object we're currently working with. If we're constructing student1, just imagine we're replacing self with student1, or student2 if we were constructing student2. If we're going to be modifying a class variable, in place of self, we'll use the name of the class, student. Access our class of student, get the class variable of number of students, then I will increment it by 1, plus equals 1. We are constructing two student objects. I will print access our class of student, get the number of students, and print it. We're constructing two student objects. If I print the number of students that we have, it should be 2. Then, just to be sure that this is working, let's construct a third student object. Student3 equals student. This student will have a name of Squidward. Squidward's age will be 55. Now we have 3 students. And for good measure, let's construct one more. Student4 equals, we will create a new student with a name of Sandy. Sandy's age will be 27. The number of students is now 4. Just as an exercise, using an f-string, let's print the student class's class year as well as the number of students. I will print, use an f-string, my graduating class of, let's add a placeholder, access the class of student, then access the class year. My graduating class of 2024 has, then we need the number of students. We'll add a placeholder, access the class of student, access the number of students, has blank students. Let's see if this works. My graduating class of 2024 has 4 students. Now if I were to change 2024 to 2025, my graduating class of 2025 has 4 students. Let's print the name of each student. These are instance variables. Student1.name. Then we need student2, 3, and 4. My graduating class of 2025 has 4 students. SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Sandy. Alright everybody, so those are class variables. Class variables are shared among all instances of a class. They are defined outside of the constructor. The benefit is that they allow you to share data among all objects created from that class. And well everybody, those are class variables in Python.
So now, as we watch a class variable segment, and now what we can do, like we did, like as we explained the previous segment through AI tools. So similarly, we are going to explain or decode this entire portion, like 9-minute portion, with help of Grok, Gemini, Claude. So let's see. So I already select that a transcript from here. Okay, so you can select, or then you can paste on Grok or any AI tools. So but if you don't know how can I create this result, so I'll show you the prompt. So the prompt is very simple. Okay, so you can get the same result, maybe different, but let me show you. My prompt is very simple, but Okay, this is my prompt. It's very simple prompt. Now I want you to add new word or explanation to make it easy to understand for beginner. You can explain the main topics with example. So this is my language. You can create a good prompt or very in details prompt. So any AI tools can structure in that way. But I'll explain this way. So yeah, so even drug is very smart. Okay, let's see. So as you watch the video is all about classes. So let's see what are class variables. Well, so as we understand in previous video, like object oriented programming, what is object, what is class, what is method, what is function, and like all the terminology we already learned. So if you don't watch my previous video, or if you want to watch through this video, like that tutor, so you can watch entire video at that particular portion. It's your choice. But without watching that portion, you cannot relate to these things. Okay, so what is the class variable? What are the class variable? Well, class variable are variables that are shared by all object, like instances. So yeah, so people like to call instances, but an object and instances are similar, created from a class. Unlike instance variable, which are unique to each object, class variable have the same value for every object of the class. So they are defined outside the constructor. If you don't know what it is, so you can constructor in previous video we already discussed. So like they are defined outside the constructor, like for example outside the init. It's a constructor, like dunder method. It's called dunder method, but a special method called init method at the class level. Okay, the key point, like share data, which means all object of the class share the same copy of a class variable. If you change the class variable, it changes for all object. Okay, so defining class, like in this way, class variable are written directly inside the class, not inside any method like init. How you can access it? So you can access the class variable using the class name dot variable, or through any object like object name and then variable. But it's better practice to use the class name for clarity. Use case, class variable are useful for storing data that applies to all object, like share counter or a common property. Let's analogy. Imagine a school where all students in a class graduate in the same year, for example 2025. The graduation year is a class variable because it's the same for all students. However, each student's name or age is an instant variable because it's unique to each student. Alright. So yeah, so now we are going to understand class variable versus object variable or instance variables. So instance variable defined inside the dunder method or init method using self, unique to each object. Example, each student has its own name and age. This is the instant variable. What about class variable? Defined outside the init method directly in the class, shared by all object. Example, all students share the same class year or name students, right? So let's example. The example, like we use student class with class variable. Okay, let's go through student class from the transcript. Well, so we define, this is the Python boilerplate code from that transcript. So we define class, Grok define a class student, and then a class variable shared by all students. So class underscore year is equal to 2024. So it's a graduation year for all student, right? And then second, name student, 0. Track the total number of students created, and then constructor to set up instance variable. it's a instant variable or object variable. So def init self name age, self dot name is equal to name, instant variable unique to each student. And self dot age is equal to age, instant variable, right? So same things. And student dot name, student plus, plus is equal to 1. So we are increasing by 1. The explanation is very simple. Class variable, class year is equal to this portion. This is the class variable. Okay, this is the class variable, and shared by all student object. It represents the graduation year for the entire class. And this name underscore student is equal to 0. This is another class variable to keep track of how many student object have been created. Then instant variables self.name and self.age, these are unique to each student object. In incrementing num underscore student, like inside init, we use student dot num dot underscore student plus is equal to 1 to increase the count every time a new student is created. We use student the class name instead of self because num student is a class variable not tied to a specific object. Right, let's create a student object. So student 1 is equal to student, then SpongeBob 30, then second object, third, fourth. So what happened here? So Grok explained. Each time we create a student object, the init method runs, setting the name and age for that student and incrementing student.num underscore student. So after creating 4 student, will be 4. All students share the same class here. Okay, so how you can access the class and instant variable? Well, accessing instant variable unique to each student. Print student.1 name, age. So SpongeBob 30, Patrick 30. Access class variable shared by all student. Student class here 2024, and then this and that you can see the all the result. And why use student.class year? Accessing class variable via the class name student.class underscore year makes it clear that class year is a shared variable, not an instant variable. If you use student.class underscore year, it's less obvious whether class year is shared or unique to student. Modify class variable. Let's see how you can modify. So change the class year for all student. Student.class underscore year is equal to 2025. So check the class year for each student. So student 1, student 2, student class, the output is same 2025. What happened? When you change student class year to 2025, it updates for all students because it's shared class variable. Then we can print it to check it out what's going on. So yeah, so print f string my graduating class of student.class here, it's a placeholder, has student.num underscore student, it's a placeholder as well. Then the output is my graduating class of 2025 has 4 students. Then second is same, right? So yeah, but this is a obstacle or a pitfall modifying class variable by object. Let's see what Doc explained. If you modify a class variable through an object, student.1 class year 2026, it creates a new instant variable for that object instead of changing the class variable. This can be confusing. Let's see. Right. Student.1 class underscore year, then 2026. Check the result. So 2026, 525, like this. Right. Explanation. When you wrote a student.1 class year is equal to 2026, Python create a new instant variable called class year for student 1. The original class variable student.class year rename and change is till 2025. To avoid confusion, always modify class variable using the class name, not our object variable. I think you can get it, right? So how could you teach? You watch the video and then you paste the transcript or any AI tools. So I prefer Grok on this video, but I use Cloud, Gemini, Python. So we also paste the transcript in Gemini. So let's see what Gemini says. So we are not gonna go through every things as we did in Grok, but yeah. So instant versus, so just Gemini just create all the code, not explaining anything. So yeah, I think we are like we got from Grok. So okay, let's see another example. Okay, let's see another example about book. So yeah, let's create another example to reinforce the concept. Suppose we have a book class for a library where we track the total number of books and the library's name set by all books. So it's a class, then class variable library underscore name is equal to city library, and then total books is 0. So it's a we are initializing 0. So we define it's an instant variable. These are instant variable. These are class variable, but these are instant variable or object variable. So and these are parameter. So self dot title is equal to title instant variable. These are instant variable, and then we also define another object like it's called describe. So then we print it f string self title by self author is a book library name, and now we are accessing that data. So book on is equal to now we are creating book object. So book on is equal to book Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, book the Hobbit, J.R.R. Tolkien. Okay, so and now we are accessing instant variable. So book book.1 dot title, then output Harry Potter, and then J.R. and output J.R. and Tolkien. Right. So this way we can access the book object and then access the class variable. We are access the object variable, and now we are accessing the class variable. So book.library underscore name, then the output is city library, and book.total underscore books, the output is 2. Now we are called method. Now we are calling the method. So book.1 dot describes, the output is Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling is in the city library, and we are changing the library name. Let's say book dot library underscore name is equal to downtown library. The output is changed. The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien is in down library. Right? How could you teach, man? How could you teach? So this is another example. That example is not explained in that video. So and even you can change your prompt. So you can ask, say, give me another analogy or another definition or another text or example what it teach. So you have to play with it. So just I'm showing you how I learn faster and deeper, right? Yeah, because I think nowadays we don't need to go anywhere. Just we have to lock in our room and understand, and just we need a willpower. So yeah. So and it's a practice set, so you can practice with your code base. So yeah, let's summary, and yeah, so this is the second portion or second segment of that video. So this video right now, so far we learn object oriented programming, method, class variable, object variable, how to access, how to call method, all the terminology in 2 episodes. So this series is all about to understanding how I can learn faster, and now I'm learning Python and DSA. So this series is called Study with Me. So I hope guys you like this video. If you like this video, just stick with this series and don't forget to subscribe, because if you subscribe my channel, so it's very helpful for us to grow. So thank you so much.